Hello and welcome to this session. This is Farhat, in which we will discuss derived tax revenues. Now, derived tax revenues is one type of non-exchange transactions. Remember, the government could have non-exchange transaction as well as exchange transaction. Non-exchange transaction is when one party gets more or less in a form of an exchange. So when you have an exchange, usually always when you have an exchange between two individuals, the exchange in a business transaction is assumed to be equal, assumed to be of equal value for both individuals, for both parties, the company and the customer and another customer, whoever. Two people exchange based on equal exchange rationale. Government is totally different. Now, under those non-exchange transaction, we have four types. One of them is derived. And this is what we will discuss today. But before we discuss it, I want to make sure you understand how we recognize revenue under the modified accrual. And this is what we looked at in the prior session. Revenue is recognized when it's measurable and available. Real quick, what does that mean? We have a whole session, but let me review it real quick. Measurables mean you can quantify, you can put a number on the transaction. Of course, you have to have that, even for the private sector. Available, this is a little bit different. Available means the funds is available to meet current year expenditure. In other words, I can spend this fund, the government can spend this fund during the current year, or that fund is available 60 days after. So I'm going to do this several times as I'm doing this, but that's okay. Repetition is good. So the fund is available for year X6 or year X, year X6. And from year X7, you can include 60 days of the fund coming in year X7 because you will be able to pay some transaction that you incur in year X6. So available means it's available for the current year and the money is available 60 days after year end. Now, specifically in this session, we'll focus on how government deals with derived tax revenues. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we proceed any further, I have a public announcement about my company, farhatlectures.com.
Hello, my name is Farhat. You are here because you are either an accounting student, a finance student, or someone who's studying for their CMA or CPA exam. Great. You are looking for some additional help, and we can help you. I strongly encourage you to visit my website, farhatlectures.com. I offer additional lectures, resources, including PowerPoint slides, multiple choice questions, in some circumstances, exercises, and true-false questions. Our material is aligned with your CPA review courses, with your CMA review courses, with your college courses. I offer a risk-free trial that you can try to find out whether my website can help you or not. If you find it helpful, you subscribe, you keep your subscription. If not, you cancel and your risk is free. If you like this recording, if you like my lectures, you would like what's on the website, give me a chance to help you with your college courses as well as professional certification. I hope to see you on the website.
And they will debit deferred inflow of resources to get rid of this deferred inflow of resources. So the receivable is gone. So they need to get rid of this deferred inflow of resources. Therefore, they will debit deferred inflow of resources and they will credit sales tax revenue. If we really look at it, if we take out all the receivables and all the deferred inflow, all the receivable, those are all zeroed out. All what we're left with is, notice, 30 million of revenue plus 20 million of revenue is 50 million and cash is 50. So we have 50 million of revenue in total. However, 30 million was recorded in year X7, 30 million in year X7 and 20 million in year X8. Let's take a look at another example. In November, it's a variation of this example. In November and December of X7, merchant collect 50 million in city sales tax. This is a variation of it. Of this 10 million, of this 50 million, 10 million is collected before December 15th and must be remitted by February the 15th. Great. The remaining 40 million is collected after December the 15th and must be remitted earlier. It does not matter. What's the point I'm trying to make here? The point is all this money will be available to the city by before 60 days of year X8. What does that mean? It means the whole receivable is revenue. Therefore, we debit sales tax receivable, credit sales tax revenue because the full amount is available to them. Let's change the example a little bit. How about if we received 50 million 90 days after year end? Well, remember, the eligibility criteria for this city is 90 days. So under modified accrual, so here we'll debit receivable and we credit deferred inflow of resources. Let's take a look at another example, and this is income taxes payable. Let's take a look at this. A state operate on a June 30th fiscal year, that's fine, but income taxes are based on the calendar year. That makes sense, that's how it works, ending December 31st. Employers withhold taxes monthly. An individual with significant non-salary earning make a quarterly payment. This is basically common knowledge. So basically, if you work for a company, employers take taxes from the employee's paycheck, and if you work for yourself, individual with significant non-salary earning will have to make a quarterly payment. Taxpayer filed their tax return April 15 of the following year to request a refund or pay the remaining taxes. And by April the 15th, you file your taxes and you tell the government whether you overpaid to give you a refund, and if you underpaid to make the payment. So let's take a look at the fiscal year ending June 30th X7. Let's see what happened here. The state collects 95 billion in income taxes calendar years 06 and 07. Remember, because the employee are calendar year 4. So simply put, what we have here is something like this. We have X6 and X7. As far as the government is ending their year June 30th X7. So the government is ending the year here. So they're looking at everything that they collected for the calendar 06 and 07. Specifically for 06, they start from mid of June, but I'm trying to tell you it's the whole year, however you want to look at it, because the taxpayer, they filed their return April the 15th. So year X6 and X7, they collected 95 million. Great. Then they refunded 15 billion by April 15 X7. Well, what they did is they collected 95, they refunded 15, what they're left is 80 billion. From audit of earlier years, the state bills the customer 10 billion. So they audited taxes from other years, and they said they sent notification and they said we need 10 billion from various not customers, taxpayers. They collect 7 billion, so they collected another 7 billion before June 30th, before the end of the year. And the remaining 3 billion is expected to be collected later. And this is, so total 87, and the 3 billion expected to be collected later. Let's take a look at this one more time via a timeline. So now the timeline is not scaled. That's okay. So this is year X6. This is where the employee work. And the remainder here is X7. So this one here is X7. So the city or the state closed their books. Their year ends here. So what they're looking at is transaction that took place in X6 and all the way X7 till mid-year. Now, people will have to file their taxes April 15th of year X7. So this is the beginning of the calendar year X6, the ending of the calendar year X6. This is where they filed their return, and when they filed their return, the government says that we owe you 15 billion. So they collected in total 95, then they refunded 15. Then from different audit for that year, they received 7 billion in total. All in all, they collected 87 billion in cash. Now the remaining 3 billion that they audited and billed, they don't know when they will be collecting this money. They don't know. They didn't tell us. Therefore, we have to assume it's 60 days after, because if it was 60 days earlier, they would have told us. It makes a difference, because if it's 60 days, it will be a deferred inflow of resources. If it will be revenue. If it's above 60 days, it will be a deferred inflow of resources. So let's take a look at the journal entry. So they received cash 87 billion, and that cash is all income tax revenue. And I showed you how we computed the 87 billion, 95 minus 15 plus 7. Great. What about the remaining 3 billion? The remaining 3 million is receivable It's a deferred inflow of resources. Why deferred inflow of resources? The government, as far as they're concerned, it's revenue that they are entitled to based on the audit, but that revenue does not meet the revenue recognition criteria. They don't know if they would receive it within 60 days after June 30th. Therefore, they'll have a deferred inflow of resources until they receive it later. Now, if they don't receive it, they have to write it off, but that's a different story. Let's take a look at the simple multiple choice question from farhatlectures.com. The following non-exchange transactions, sales tax, income tax, car fuel tax, are classified as what? As what type of tax? And I hope you know from this discussion, it's a derived tax revenue. Now, this is all what we're asking you is, do you know the type of non-exchange transaction? Because we're going to have 4 of them. We discussed this one now. We're going to have to discuss imposed non-exchange next. No, I'm not sure if it's next or the following. Voluntary non-exchange and government mandated non-exchange transaction. What should you do now? Whether you are a student studying for your professional certification, visit farhatlectures.com, CPA, or you're taking governmental accounting, it does not matter. Look at additional resources that will help you. Invest in yourself. Farhat is always here to help, and stay safe.